You want to hear how it all went down? Okay. But I'll warn you, this isn't some cute little neighbor spat. This is a story about how power rots, and how if you push the right person far enough, even the quiet guy next door can become your worst nightmare. The morning Karen finally snapped. Not the peaceful sunrise I'd pictured when we bought this place, let me tell you. Nope. It's 7:42 a.m. Air so cold it bites through my jacket mist rolling off the lake in these slow, ghostly curls. And then bang, a scream slices through it. Karen, out of her glass palace, wild hair floral bathrobe, stomping barefoot across her precious lawn, shrieking at my crew like a banshee on laundry day. Stop. Stop right now. She sounded like a busted karaoke speaker voice, all crackle, no music. But my crew, they didn't stop. Miguel's pounding fence posts right through the heart of her $20,000 rose garden petals exploding like confetti all over that bathrobe. I sip my coffee leaning against my new no trespassing sign. Her husband stands on the porch in pajama shorts looking like he wants to melt into the bricks Karen they're filming. Please come inside. But she's too far gone threatening lawyers, sheriffs, HOA, God, and whoever else will listen. All before breakfast. You ever dealt with a psycho neighbor? You know what I'm talking about. But let me back up. See, people think saving for a dream means skipping Starbucks or dropping Netflix for a year. For us, it was 16 years. 16. That's not a typo. Generic cereal, patched up jeans, cars that sounded like thunder every time you started them. We didn't vacation. We fixed leaky pipes and counted coins, scraping toward one thing someplace quiet where Lena, my wife, could breathe easy. Her hands, they ache rheumatoid arthritis, the kind that makes just picking up a mug feel like fire. That lake, it wasn't just a patch of water for us. It was hope. It was a place where Lena could float weightless for 20 minutes and not feel every joint screaming. So when we finally found a rundown little cabin on Crescent Bay, it didn't matter that it leaned like a drunk at last call, or that the deck shook if you sneezed. That shoreline, crystal water, soft waves, I saw peace. Lena saw relief. Lena saw... But the neighbors, that's where the story really starts. Our place looked like something off a fisherman's postcard. The one next door, let's just say it looked like a billionaire's spaceship landed in the woods, glass steel too fancy for a lake. And inside Karen. I didn't know her yet, but you could hear the stories drifting across the water. Watch out for her, our realtor whispered. She thinks the whole lake is hers. Don't cross her unless you like paperwork and misery. I laughed. There's always one right, I was so damn wrong. Moving day. Lena's out on the dock, shoulders down for the first time in months. She whispers, "This is it. Our place." I almost believed her until I heard the click, click, click of heels coming down the dock. I turn and there's Karen hair pulled tight, sunglasses reflecting the whole lake like she owned the sun, waving a stack of papers like she's about to serve a warrant. "You must be the new resident," she says, making residents sound like a disease. "We need to discuss something immediately." That's when I felt the first crack in our dream. Just a hairline, but real. And I should have known we weren't at the lake for peace. We were at war. She marches over heels, stabbing the dock papers, flapping in the wind like little white flags, except she wasn't surrendering anything. "This is an established community easement," she says, jabbing her nail at the page. "You can't block access to the shoreline. Move your things immediately." I look at her papers, smelled like lies and expensive toner. Signature, crooked wording, vague, the kind of letter you print after a few too many glasses of wine. "Ma'am," I said, slow as I could manage, "this is private property. I have the deed." But she cuts me off with a laugh, sharp enough to trim hedges. "Deeds can be misleading. The community's used this shoreline for years. I'd been there less than 48 hours, and she's already acting like a queen, booting out peasants." I keep calm. "Just fixing the dock, ma'am. My wife needs the water therapy. There will be no unauthorized construction," she snaps. "You people can't just show up and change things. You people. First sting, first humiliation." She whips out her phone. "Sheriff Morrison?" "Yes, it's Karen. We have a situation. Like I'm holding hostages, not a hammer." 17 minutes later, yeah, I timed it, a sheriff's cruiser rolls up. He gets out, sees Karen, and suddenly his whole posture shifts. The smile says they've shared a few beers. "Morning, Karen. What's going on?" She puts on a trembling voice, pointing at me like I'm a raccoon in her trash. "I tried to enforce our community agreements. He refused and became aggressive. I feel extremely unsafe. Aggressive. I'd barely spoken 10 sentences. Sheriff nods. Well now, Jake, maybe you can work something out with the community. No need for trouble over a little dock space. Little dock space. The dock I'd saved 16 years for. The dock that was Lena's therapy. Karen crosses her arms smug. Neighbors drift outside, not enough to help, just enough to watch. I hear them whisper, "Is that the new guy? Looks like trouble already. Shame." Their whispers hit me harder than any shout. The sheriff leaves, patting his cruiser. Karen gives me a slow, condescending smile. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Then she struts off heels, tapping like a victory march. I stand there on my own dock with my own deed, and I've never felt more like an intruder. If you've never felt truly helpless standing on ground you fought and bled for, let me tell you, it sticks. But under the humiliation, a little spark started. Karen had no idea who she'd picked a fight with. The weeks that followed artillery fire, nothing big, just 1,000 tiny cuts, code violations, orange notices, cease work immediately, for fixing 2 boards on the dock. Next day, illegal fire pit, non-regulation mailbox, breathing on your own property. Probably a violation. I tried to file appeals. Half disappeared at the zoning office, where turns out Karen's husband Brent sat at the desk, king of his little kingdom. Meanwhile, Karen built new decks, fancy lights, flamingo-shaped kayak ramps, all approved in a heartbeat. Every time I saw Brent, he smiled that same tight Karen smile. Paperwork takes time. Be patient. Patience was getting expensive. Then the whispers started, neighbors avoiding me, pausing conversations, crossing to the other side of the street. That's the guy Karen said threatened her. Unstable, aggressive, social poison. Tiny doses until you're living in exile among people you thought would be friends. And the cherry on top. 4th of July. Lena's hurting bad. So we skip the town fireworks, just want to float in the water a little, try to ease her pain. We walk down and 20 strangers are on our shore. Karen's hosting a full-blown party, lobster DJ, champagne on my dock. This is the one who threatened me on my own dock. She laughs to her friends, making a spectacle. I tell her this is our property. Move your party. She sips champagne. This shoreline's always been for the community. You can't just take it because you bought a small cabin. Small cabin. Might as well have called me a squatter. A drunk leans over. Hey, lighten up. Karen says you're unstable, but you're not dangerous, right? Lena goes pale. People stare, waiting for me to snap and prove her right. I don't. But that night after the docks trashed, Lena's crying on the porch, and I'm just sitting at the edge of the water, silent, burning. That was the night something shifted. Lena, wrapped in a blanket, leans on my shoulder. You can't let her do this. She'll ruin us. I looked at her, the woman who'd fought through everything, and I promised, not out loud, just inside my chest. Enough. Karen thought we were too tired to fight back. She was wrong. So the next morning I drove to the county courthouse. Spent hours in a basement that smelled like mildew and bad decisions, digging through old maps, deeds, records. And buried in a folder marked Shoreline Adjustments, 1984, I found the original survey. My property line ran 22 feet farther east, meaning Karen's roses on my land, her fancy deck extension on my land, her kingdom built on my dirt. Hired a surveyor, state certified, not one of Brent's buddies. 3 days later, metal stakes hammered into the ground, bright and undeniable. Karen's face when she saw those stakes. Priceless. She came storming out in her robe. You can't do this. That's my yard. Surveyor doesn't even look up. Not according to this. She turns on me. You manipulated the county records, I laugh. If I could do that, Karen, I wouldn't live in a cabin. For the first time, she looked scared. Not angry, scared. Turns out her whole lakeside empire was illegal. Her dock built 15 feet into a protected public waterway. Her lights banned in a fish spawning zone. Her boat lift, no permit. Imported rocks, illegal retaining wall, everything against the law. And then the kicker, old maps show a public access road right through her backyard, roses deck, everything. She'd paved over a legal road, and now by law it belonged to me as the adjoining owner. I started filing complaints, environmental zoning, shoreline protection, obstruction. Photos, measurements, everything by the book. 3 days later, environmental inspectors show up, clipboards, cameras. Karen tries sweet-talking them. Everything's approved. My husband handles the paperwork. They don't buy it. Violations pile up. For the first time, Karen can't control the story. When the fence crew came to install the new line, Karen lost it, storms out screaming, "This is my property, my view." Miguel, bless him, just hands her the permit. She smacks it away. Then she tries bolt cutters, gets her robe caught, flails in the dirt like a deranged raccoon. The neighbors come out not to help but to watch. Kids start chanting "fence witch." By the next week, contractors refuse to work at her place. Even the mailman skips her porch. She tries intimidation, anonymous notes, Facebook posts, gathering signatures. Nobody cares. Her friends cut her off. The whole community starts turning against her. And the fence went up panel by panel, strong and straight. But Karen, she doesn't take the hint. She just gets meaner. County calls me sir. You should see this. Turns out Brent's been fast-tracking permits for Karen's friends, denying everyone else. It's not just Karen. It's a little empire of corruption. State environmental investigators show up and a local journalist, Lisa Rodriguez, starts poking around. Suddenly other victims come forward, folks whose renovations were stalled, permits, denied, fines piled on unless they played along with Karen's clique. And then one day a man in a dark suit shows up at my dock. FBI Public Corruption Division. They've had complaints for years but never any proof. Until now. They're investigating zoning fraud, environmental crimes, bribery, the whole works. And they need witnesses. Apparently I'm their guy. And here's the poetic part. All Karen's desperate moves just made things worse. Caught on my security cameras at 3 a.m., she's dumping chemical sludge in the lake, trying to sabotage the evidence. Sends goons to vandalize my dock, caught, arrested, and they roll on her in a heartbeat. She even files a false police report, says I threatened her with a rifle. I own a wrench and a canoe paddle lady. It's a meltdown in slow motion. Then comes the night of her annual gala, the preservation party. She's out there in a designer gown playing queen while across the water, our lake festival is packed, kids fishing, families laughing, real community. Black SUVs pull up, agents roll in, and in front of the whole neighborhood, Brent is arrested. Corruption, bribery, all of it. Karen grabs a mic, tries to turn the crowd, blames me. But I just hold up her emails, make his applications disappear. He'll sell. She lunges at me screaming, agents cuff her, empire gone. Next morning, the lake feels different, lighter, like the water itself let out a sigh. Her mansion goes into foreclosure. The place sits, empty, weeds taking over. Lena goes back to therapy in the lake, but this time she's teaching other kids, building a program for people with disabilities, helping turn our pain into something good. The neighbors, people who used to whisper, now stop by with casseroles, offer help, volunteer. We become a real community again. Brent gets 3 years in prison. Karen, 18 months plus probation, banned from holding any influence, massive fines. But the biggest victory, the silence. Birds, wind, water, no more Karen. And I get it now, fighting for your home, your family, it changes you. You don't do it because you're stronger. You do it because sometimes you're all that's left. If you've ever dealt with a bully, a Karen, someone with power who thought the world owed them, just remember you're not as helpless as you think. Sometimes justice is slow, but it comes like the sunrise after a storm. So tell me, where do you draw the line? When does standing up for yourself become the only option? Have you ever had to fight back, not just for you, but for everyone around you? Drop your story below. I'll read every single one. And hey, protect what matters. Always.